Hey guys, welcome back to a brand new Ninjago video here on the channel. My name is TannerFishies. In today's video, we are going to be ranking every single Ninjago season from worst to best, according to my own opinion. And including Ninjago Crystalized, since the season has just been released officially, we can finally add it to our list and actually rank it among the other seasons that we have so far. For a couple of quick disclaimers before we get started, for one, this is simply my own opinion. This is just my own opinion. We all have our own opinions, and after the video is over, feel free to rank all the seasons according to your opinion down below in the comment section. For another quick disclaimer, this video will indeed contain multiple Ninjago seasons and multiple entries that may not be considered seasons, including Day of the Departed. And for a final disclaimer, we will indeed be covering multiple entries on this list. I'm going to be talking very briefly about each one as we go throughout the video, but there is a lot here that we need to cover, so yeah, we're going to be keeping things very brief, very quick, but regardless, I hope you guys enjoyed nonetheless, and like I said, after the video is over, you can rank every single season down below in the comments according to your own opinion. So I think that's all I have to cover in terms of disclaimers, so without further ado, let's dive on into the list and rank every single Ninjago season from worst to best. So starting off at the bottom of the list, we have Day of the Departed. I just mentioned this in the intro, but Day of the Departed is still my least favorite thing about Ninjago. It is a very short 45-minute TV special that in my opinion just doesn't really capture anything good about Ninjago, nor does it add anything new. I will say for one benefit of this special, we do have Cole and his story. That's the only thing that I will give this special in terms of some type of redemption. Otherwise, Master Gang is a very disappointing villain, the writing in this special was just awful, and overall, it's just not a good time. I rewatch Day of the Departed every single year for Halloween, and honestly, I think I hate it more and more every single year I revisit it. Next up, we have Secrets of the Forbidden Spinjitzu, the first entry in the Wild Brain saga of Ninjago. This season has always had mixed reception among the Ninjago community. I really dislike the fire chapter. There's just not a whole lot going on, it's very boring, and again, like Day of the Departed, the writing and the villain especially are extremely weak. The Ice chapter is a little bit better, and we're going to be lumping those together into one category here because they are technically one season, but the Ice chapter is much better than the Fire chapter, though it does still have its fair share of problems. I will say, this season was very experimental, and they did make some interesting choices at the cost of quality, no doubt. Next up on the list, we have Hands of Time. Now, Hands of Time is kind of a special case here. Hands of Time had a lot of production issues going into it, and that's why the season itself is kind of weaker compared to some of the other entries in the earlier Ninjago saga. Achronix and Crux are amazing villains in my opinion, and I love the backstory with Kai and Nia's parents, but still the writing leaves a lot to be desired. The animation isn't the prettiest this go round, but that's in no doubt to the many production issues that Hands of Time actually had, and it's hard for me to fault the actual season because of the production issues, but still they shine through the cracks and it's very distracting. Hands of Time has some good stuff going on though. Again, Ninjago lore being built upon is always fantastic in my opinion, and again the aforementioned villains are really cool as well, but still Hands of Time, I can't really find myself putting it any higher on this list. Next up on the list, we have the Island. Now, the Island is kind of in an awkward spot here. It's kind of lumped in between two large Ninjago seasons, leaving the Island as kind of the forgotten middle child here. But still, the Island as a season has a lot going on here, including some awesome coloring, awesome animation, a fantastic setting, but its short runtime leaves a lot to be desired. If this were to be a full-length season, much like Cbound or Master of the Mountain, I think the Island could have been a lot more. There's nothing really wrong with the Island in my opinion, but it still is very short and in my opinion kind of forgettable. I will say the Island does have one of the best batch of ninja costumes that we've ever seen though. Those suits are amazing. Next up here we have Prime Empire. Now Prime Empire I find to be one of the most unique Ninjago seasons out there. We've seen digital Ninjago before, but this season goes all out here, trapping the ninja in some kind of video game world, forcing Ninjago as a series to kind of step out of its comfort zone here. I can see this being a problem with some Ninjago fans though, because Prime Empire is about the furthest thing from a traditional Ninjago season. However, the setting is awesome, the storyline has some genuine stakes, and Unagami wasn't the worst villain out there, and in terms of like J-focused stories, this certainly could have been a lot worse. So I can't really say that Prime Empire doesn't have anything going for it, but it just kind of feels like a softer retread of Ninjago stories that we've seen before. Next up here we have the pilot episodes. Back where it all began, back before time had a name or whatever, we had the pilots, and I still really enjoy the pilots to this day. I break them out and watch them every now and then if I'm ever feeling nostalgic, and I must admit the pilot episodes still hold up to this day. Some of the animation and voice work leaves a bit to be desired though, that's for sure, but Ninjago had not found its footing just yet. These were Ninjago's humble beginnings. It's hard to not feel nostalgic for the pilots. The pilots had a really important job to do here with setting up the entire Ninjago world, and I think for the most part, they pulled it off rather well. Next up on the list, we have Ninjago Rise of the Snakes, Ninjago's very first full-scale season. This season is also rather nostalgic for me. There's a lot of really cool episodes going on here, including many episodes where the ninja find their true potential, which are just classics among the Ninjago library. The season also introduced Lloyd, who would eventually become the Green Ninja, and I thought his storyline was pretty exciting this go-round. It would evolve in later seasons, obviously, but the first season introduced a lot that we as Ninjago fans know and love even to this day, and the season itself is far from bad. The only reason why this season is not higher on the list is because I simply enjoy other seasons a lot more. Again, the first season introduced a lot of the concepts that we know and love throughout Ninjago, but other seasons would expand on those concepts and make them better and more exciting. Next up on the list we have Ninjago Hunted, the second part in the Oni trilogy. This might be kind of a hot take, but I'm not the biggest fan of Ninjago Hunted. I think the story has a lot to enjoy, but it also has a lot to get annoyed with as well. Many episodes of Ninjago Hunted take random detours to focus on characters that really don't matter and characters that just weigh the entire story down. But Hunted has some really good stuff going on here as well, including the storyline with Master Wu trying to get his memories back and the entire subplot of the ninja trapped in the first realm. I do prefer that storyline over the storyline in Ninjago City, which like I said did annoy me sometimes, but the first realm stuff, that's where the season truly shined. Hunted is no doubt my least favorite entry in the Oni trilogy, but it's certainly not a bad entry in Ninjago's catalog, and this season does have one of my favorite final battles across the entirety of Ninjago. Alright, moving right along to the top 10, we have Season 2, Legacy of the Green Ninja. Like Ninjago Hunted, this season has a lot going for it, however it does have a lot weighing it down, which puts it below many other seasons for me. If you've been watching me for quite some time, you would know that I love the final battle of Season 2, easily one of my favorite Ninjago moments of all time. The battle between Lloyd and the Overlord is simply epic on top of the tower, and that scene still gets me every single time. When I was younger watching this season, the final battle was everything to me. This is what the entire series had been leading up to, and I thought it paid off in a really big way. The entire story set on the Dark Island with the Stone Army and the Overlord is fantastic in my opinion. Unfortunately, the first half of the season exists to pretty much weigh down the entire season for me. Yeah, this season is home to the infamous filler episodes. Episodes like Pirates vs. Ninja and Ninja Ball Run go down in history as being some of my least favorite Ninjago episodes of all time. But the first half of the season is so inconsistent in terms of quality, the entire season suffers as a result. If the entire season was similar to the last 5 or 6 episodes, this season could easily be my favorite one. Next up on the list we have Ninjago Cbound coming in the number 9 spot. Now Cbound I think is really special. An underwater season was one of my dreams for the longest time as a Ninjago fan, and this season was exactly what I wanted to see, no pun intended. Nia's sacrifice towards the very end of the season was very emotional and very heartfelt, and that easily stands out as one of the highlight moments of this season. But like I said, there's a lot going on here. We have the Merlopians, we have Benthamar and his backstory, we have his relationship with Kalmar. The season explores quite a bit, which I really do enjoy, and Wajira and her battle with Nia towards the end was also really spectacular. Like I said though, the underwater season was a dream for me, and I think Cbound delivered on that front, while also giving us an awesome storyline for Nia, and finally giving her some type of attention. It's a fantastic and emotional story. The only thing holding it back is some of the more forgettable episodes, and me simply liking other seasons a lot more. Next up on the list we have Rebooted in the number 8 spot. Now Rebooted gets a lot of hate nowadays, and I'm not really sure why. Sure, the season is home to the infamous Cole, Jay, and Nia love triangle, but I kind of enjoy that, not gonna lie. And speaking of romance, you also had the introduction of Pixel in this season, and she and Zane are perfect for each other. I also love the focus on Zane, and again, just like Cbound, the season ends with a very emotional sacrifice, and this one always hits every time I watch it. It's so sad watching Zane sacrifice himself to take out the Overlord, and it makes the entire season worth it in my opinion. I also really enjoyed the Overlord and the Ninjroids, some of my favorite Ninjago bad guys of all time, and the introduction to this season as well is one of the best, if not the best, across all of Ninjago, again according to my own opinion. Rebooted had a fantastic introduction, a so-so middle, and an epic conclusion. It's far from perfect, but I have to admit I really do enjoy Season 3. Next up on the list we have Season 6, Skybound. And ever since Skybound has come out, there's been a lot of controversy surrounding its conclusion, and I agree the ending is not ideal, but the ending itself doesn't really bother me too much when you consider the context of the story. Taking a look at the entire season, you had some awesome stuff going on with Jay and Nia's relationship as well. I am a very big fan of the Jay and Nia relationship, and this season solidified their relationship even further and explored their problems as a couple. In terms of bad guys, we have Nadakon, who is a very intimidating villain. I'm not a huge fan of the rest of the Sky Pirates, but Nadakon himself was spectacular. I love the idea of him picking off the ninja one by one until it eventually comes down to Jay and Nia. In terms of romance, Skybound delivers. In terms of action, it delivers as well. The only thing that I can say for a negative is that ending isn't really ideal like I said, but I find it hard to hate Skybound because so many of my favorite moments come from this season, especially between Jay and Nia. In the number 6 spot, we have Ninjago Crystalized, the most recent Ninjago season to be released as of the time of recording this video. And what can I say about this season that I haven't already said? The season brings back a lot of interesting villains, including the Overlord and Harumi, two of my favorite villains of all time, and this truly does feel like the culmination of everything that came before. Ninjago Ninjago Crystalized certainly has some low points, that's for sure. The entire season is not perfect in my opinion, but I really enjoy its ending and I love the build up towards said ending. I feel like for the most part, everything that was set up was paid off big in the finale, and the more I think about Ninjago Crystalized and its finale, the more I actually love it. From what I've seen throughout the Ninjago community so far, many people seem to be split on this season, but overall, I don't think it's all that bad. The season was trying to be some type of grand finale, and it certainly did feel like a grand finale. Alright, now entering the top 5, in 5th place we have Ninjago March of the Oni. That's right, I enjoy Ninjago March of the Oni a lot more than everything else that I just listed on this countdown. Might be kind of a hot take, but I think March of the Oni is criminally underrated, and to me this is more of an airtight finale than Ninjago Crystalized ever could be. March of the Oni was only 4 episodes long, so like Rebooted, it didn't really have the advantage of being a super long season, but the story that it was trying to tell really didn't need to be all that long, at least according to my own opinion, like I said. The Oni are very destructive forces. I loved their villainous presence throughout the entire season, and much like Crystalized would after, March of the Oni brought back a lot of things about classic Ninjago that many fans recognize and love, including returning characters, the golden weapons, similar concepts and ideas. But like I said, this is a lot more airtight than Crystalized in my opinion. Sure, some of the more infamous scenes in March of the Oni, like Cole falling off the bounty, doesn't really make the season shine all that much compared to some other ones for a lot of people, but that's really the only major fault in my opinion that's weighing this season down. There are plenty of other scenes and sequences that make March of the Oni stand out to me as something special. Like I said, as a conclusion to the entirety of Ninjago, March of the Oni works a lot better in my opinion than Crystalized. If Ninjago were to have ended with March of the Oni, nothing else after it, I would not be disappointed. Next up in the number 4 spot we have Ninjago Possession. Now Ninjago Possession is very, very epic in my opinion. The scale here is massive compared to several other seasons, and I love how much world building is going on here. Master Wu's backstory gets expanded, the backstory of Ninjago is toyed with and changed, and Moro is a fantastic bad guy, and the conclusion to his story was amazing in my opinion. The ninja this go round are also a lot of fun, forced to learn air jutsu in order to counteract everything going against them. The season is also home to Nia finally unlocking her water powers and Cole becoming a ghost. I enjoyed both of those storylines very much, and I think Possession supplied a lot of effective setup to both of those stories. The season is also very creepy with a very haunting atmosphere, and I liked that about Ninjago Possession, with lots of twists and turns that left me very satisfied after watching it. Possession really doesn't have any major flaws in my opinion, except for that I enjoy other seasons more, and speaking of which, let's move on to the top 3. So in 3rd place, we have Ninjago Master of the Mountain. For those that don't know, Cole is my favorite ninja, and this season is all about Cole and his history. A storyline focusing entirely on Cole was kind of toyed with in the past, but never really fully realized until this season, and I think Master of the Mountain delivered on that front. Really awesome story surrounding Cole and his elemental power. We learn a little bit more about his history, his backstory, and his parents, and in that sense, yeah, Ninjago Master of the Mountain answered a ton of mysteries and a lot of questions that Ninjago fans had for many years. The entire season takes place entirely in Shintaro, making it unique and having it stand out from other seasons that take place in Ninjago City or some type of neighboring village. The season also had an amazing villain in the form of the Skull Sorcerer and introduced one of my favorite side characters, that being Princess Vanya. Overall, Master of the Mountain was a really fun time, and it may have had some episodes that really weren't up to par compared to others, but still, me being a massive fan of Cole, watching that final battle between him and the Skull Sorcerer using the Blades of Deliverance always makes me really happy every time I revisit it. Master of the Mountain is the best of the Wild Brain seasons in my opinion, not really being outmatched by anything. In 2nd place, we have Ninjago Sons of Garmadon. Sons of Garmadon was when Ninjago really started to get serious. You could tell that the writers were taking the storyline a lot more seriously than previous seasons, and the tone and atmosphere is something that I admire from Sons of Garmadon that kind of gets lost throughout the remaining couple of entries in the Oni trilogy. Sons of Garmadon feels darker and more mature than other Ninjago seasons, dealing with a lot of heavy themes that Ninjago fans might be blindsided by. You also have the introduction of Harumi, who I've mentioned is one of my favorite Ninjago villains, alongside Garmadon, making this season kind of great in terms of bad guys. The ninja themselves are all fantastic here as well, and I loved how their storyline circled around Master Wu and trying to recover him after the ending of Hands of Time. The ninja's design changes were introduced in this season, and honestly they don't bother me, they never really did, but for the Ninjago fans that watched this season play out, Sons of Garmadon turned out to be something very emotional, very tragic, and very dark at the same time, with extremely satisfying characterization and plot points that just make this season something different, something special, something more than previous Ninjago entries. But of course, nothing can permanently top my favorite Ninjago season, which segueing into the number 1 spot is Tournament of Elements, Season 4. This has been my favorite season for many, many years now, and I still stand by this being one of the best Ninjago seasons of all time. The season introduced a lot of really cool stuff into the Ninjago lore, including new elemental masters, new history, the Serpentine War. A lot of things that I enjoy about Ninjago history was introduced in this season. The introduction of this season is also really sad and somber following Zane's death at the end of Reboot, rebooted, and the entire plot on Chen's Island I just absolutely love. The tournament is tragic, with a lot of twists here and there, and a lot of infighting between the ninja team, making this season exciting to watch. Admittedly, once the Elemental Masters leave Chen's Island, the season kind of takes a little bit of a dip for me, but the final battle still isn't that bad. It still is really good, just not as good as everything going on Chen's Island. I also love the idea of Garmadon being the ninja's main sensei during this season, giving Master Wu a well-deserved rest. And speaking of Garmadon, his sacrifice towards the very end of the season is still one of my favorite Ninjago moments of all time. I've said a lot regarding Tournament of Elements over the years, and it still stands out as being the best Ninjago season in my opinion, and it will take a lot for any future Ninjago season to top this one for me. And with that being said, that'll pretty much wrap it up for my thoughts here today. We have finally made it to the end, and I hope you guys enjoyed my ranking of all of the Ninjago seasons from worst to best. The comment section is yours. Feel free to rank all of them, or maybe even your top 10, top 5, or maybe even just write your favorite. Either way, all opinions are welcome down below, and I am very excited to see what you guys come up with. But like I said, guys, that'll pretty much wrap it up for the video here today. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed today's video, be sure to like and subscribe, do all that fun stuff, and I appreciate you guys watching this one. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, and I will talk to you guys again really soon. Peace.